there's a lot of funny little patterns that I even noticed myself doing quite a bit of, which is like, I knew it. There's a lot of I knew it type stuff of like, people should have cared about science more. It's like what I would say. Or environmentalists are like, we told you Mother Nature was going to buck us off this planet. Like, really? Did you called this? Did you? But
Great, I told you so. Heard around the world.
yeah, it really is. Everybody, I'm guilty. And like, if you think about how adaptive it is to assign agency to something, to use this theory of mind stuff, to be able, for our ancestors, to be able to predict the movement of a bison, to understand like, oh, if a bison sees me, it might do this because it has its own mind, and because I can do that, I can outmaneuver it, and then I can predict this other person's mind when they're raising up their spear. I know that they're probably aiming to throw it at that bison to help, and since they're throwing it this, such an incredible thing to have evolved, and because of how very adaptive that is, we tend to overuse that power. We seem to do that to these large, dynamic, complex systems as well. We seem to do this to Earth or the universe. But I think the downside of that is that it leads to some victim blaming, because now once you have something that is this agency, now, of course, it's looking out for you, because that's, egocentrism, boy, oldest bias in the book, so this agency is looking out for you. So, and now when good things happen to you, you earned it. When bad things happen to you, well, that's some bum luck. Better luck next time. When bad things happen to another person, they must have been asking for it. When good things happen to another person, they must have got lucky. This is going to help out with your confidence and keep you going. And it seems like there's a way of that we use this to be like, well, see, if people would have just listened to us when we were saying we need to recycle more, we probably wouldn't have gotten this fight. If people would have gone to church more, and there's a sort of self-defense, like, I talk to scientists and I know science, so I'm not going to get this virus. Other people that aren't being mindful enough of science are. Not only that, but they have it coming, these dum-dums, for not reading enough books. And that it seems like there's this kind of, you know what I'm saying, this pattern of that happening right now.
Yeah. When we talk about skillful science communication, let me recommend Ed Yong, who writes for The Atlantic and wrote a great book about
I follow him on Twitter.
Yeah, you probably do. He wrote a book called I Contain Multitudes, about the microbiome. But he wrote a great piece recently called Why the Coronavirus is So Confusing. And I feel like it touches on a lot of stuff that we've discussed today. He says, when a hurricane or an earthquake hits, the danger is evident, the risk self-explanatory, and the aftermath visible. It is obvious when to take shelter and when it's safe to come out. But viruses lie below the threshold of the senses. Neither peril nor safety is clear. Whenever I go outside for a brief masked walk, I reel from cognitive dissonance as I wander a world that has been irrevocably altered, but that looks much the same. I can still read accounts of people less lucky, those who have lost and those who have been lost, but I cannot read about the losses that never occurred because they were averted. Prevention may be better than cure, but it is also less visceral. So this is speaking to everything that you were saying about, statistical misapprehension and the hyper objects and so on. He goes on to say, the coronavirus not only co-opts our cells, but exploits our cognitive biases. Humans construct stories to wrangle meaning from uncertainty and purpose from chaos. We crave simple narratives, but the pandemic offers none. The facile dichotomy between saving either lives or the economy belies the broad agreement between epidemiologists and economists that the U.S. shouldn't open prematurely. The lionization of healthcare workers and grocery store employees ignores the risks they are being asked to shoulder and the protective equipment they aren't being given. The rise of small anti-lockdown protests overlooks the fact that most Republicans and Democrats agree that social distancing should continue for as long as is needed to curb the spread of coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
And the desire to name an antagonist, be it the Chinese Communist Party or Donald Trump, disregards the many aspects of 21st century life that made the pandemic possible. Humanity's relentless expansion into wild spaces, soaring levels of air travel, chronic underfunding of public health, a just-in-time economy that runs on fragile supply chains, healthcare systems that yoke medical care to employment, social networks that rapidly spread misinformation, the devaluation of expertise, the marginalization of the elderly, and centuries of structural racism that impoverished the health of minorities and indigenous groups. It may be easier to believe that the coronavirus was deliberately unleashed than to accept the harsher truth that we built the world that was prone to it but not ready for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bam!